This video is sponsored by Draco Studios and focuses on the lore of Valerna, the largest continent on Rhaava and setting for the tabletop RPG DragonBond. Their latest Kickstarter for DragonBond, Endless Saga, launches October 31st. Check out the link in the video description for more details. Rhaava is a young world, a malleable world. Its continents shaped by empires that rise and fall with the ebbing of the tides of time. A world where the magic of Vaala permeates all, representing a force of change and potential. Despite its youth and the tentative stability in which Rhaava and its continent of Valerna find themselves, its history is one of great tumult. Roiled by devastation, Rhaava has survived ages of tragedy, ages of reform, ages of death. It's a history written in ashen blood where kingdoms have fought gods, where deadly dragons have lit the skies. The realm has been scarred by its past, but a glimmer of hope remains for Rhaava's future, and those strong enough to seize it. In order to understand the current age, where great kingdoms led by fierce dragon-bonded warriors vie for power over Valerna, we must journey to Rhaava's past, to its first days with the age of Protogons. Protean Rhaava was shaped not by gods or deities, but by Vaala, by the essence of magic itself. Vaala coursed through the darkness of the realm, painting the canvas of Rhaava with light, imbuing it with life and constant change. From the swirling mists of a nascent world emerged its first entities, the Protogons. These colossal, incomprehensible beings were physical manifestations of Vaala and the change it represents. Nigh immortal and with the power to shape continents, Protogons tread the world, and in their wake mountains rose, plains tilled, valleys surged with life-giving water, jungles grew, oceans seethed, and deserts baked. Protogons shaped Rhaava, guided by one law, the unwritten rule. This law forbade Protogons from procreating and spawning further generations. It would have been an affront to Vaala and the natural order. For thousands of years, the Protogons molded Rhaava, destroyed and rebuilt its surface 10 times over, until one came who would challenge the unwritten rule, and the Protogons themselves. Cadmos, the primordial dragon, numbered itself among the Protogons' ranks, but was quite different from the others. It had a mind that questioned. Cadmos sharpened its inquisitive mind by pondering the deepest truths of Rhaava and its own existence. It scrutinized the law and questioned its purpose, surmising that if Protogons were meant to bring forth change, then change would occur more rapidly if the beings propagated. In its hubris, Cadmos spawned reflections of itself, mirror images imbued with the same power and same essence. Thus, the first dragons were born. As its progeny spread, Cadmos' powers multiplied and influence grew. It not only brought forth the change instilled in it by Vaala, but absorbed magic into its own being. The other Protogons saw Cadmos' disregard for the unwritten rule as a threat to Rhaava, to reality itself, and as a declaration of war. Battle erupted between gods and dragons. Hundreds of Cadmos' children plummeted from the skies, but so too were Protogons brought low, disabusing them of their perceived invulnerability. The war was long and bloody. In its climax, the Protogons joined forces and sacrificed many to banish Cadmos and its children from Rhaava entirely, severing them from the life-giving magic of Vaala and hurtling them to the distant red moon of Draca. Blocked from their connection to Vaala, the dragons would slowly wither and die. In a final act of defiance, Cadmos removed one of its own eyes and placed it among the stars, creating a rift that bound the two celestial bodies. Every 27 years the eye blinks, and the rift opens, allowing dozens of dragons to descend upon Rhaava from the red moon to slake their thirst on Vaala and ravage mortal lands. Though the Protogons succeeded in driving Cadmos' dragons from Rhaava, their own power was greatly diminished, as was their purpose. Rhaava was given life, its continents populated by creatures and ancient civilizations, its boundaries exemplary of change. The Protogons slowly declined and disappeared into the mists of history, their memory preserved only in the oldest fables. With the acquiescence of the Protogons, a new age emerged, the Age of Mortals. All around Rhaava and its largest continent of Valerna, the ancient progenitors of today's races emerged from the backdrop to secure for themselves power, position, empire. Great civilizations of elves, dwarves, and gnomes were erected from the landscape, but the race of humans came to dominate the largest swaths of Valerna. The Primal Age marked the first centuries of the mortals' rise to power, an age dominated by fear and instability. Kingdoms warred with another. Empires collapsed from internal subterfuge, lawlessness prevailed, and entire races were consumed in dragon fire. Every 27 years, Cadmos and its brood returned to Rhaava, feasted on Vaala, razed cities, and massacred thousands. Mortals had time only to rebuild before the eye blinked again, once more filling the skies with dragons. From great need arose a hero to save the mortals from Cadmos' predations and usher in a new age, the age of the Dragonbonded. Legends speak of an elven wizard that through a deeply spiritual and mystical connection, entwined her spirit with that of a dragon. The elf was named Terriane, the dragon named Abraxas, and their connection became the first Dragonbond. This allowed the two to share powers, to harness Vaala, to become legendary exemplars of leadership and valor. This magical connection between mortal and dragon repeated itself in several individuals of immense purpose. The Dragonbonded led legions of mortal soldiers in battle against Cadmos' raids, bringing forth peace and stability which saw new empires rise across Valerna under their protective wing. Great kingdoms, precursors of Ilaria, Tiveria, and others, rose from the hot crucible, hardened by generations of fiery tumult. Crafts flowed through bustling trade hubs, culture and art proliferated, and stability was secured by Dragonbonded and their armies. This offered respite for a mortal world teetering on oblivion, but it wouldn't last long, as a new threat bore itself, intent on destroying the world of Rhaava entirely. Ambition plagued the hearts of Dragonbonded as they accrued status and power. Many were content to lead or advise their cities, but some sought even greater power. They found it in the Null. Null is the antithesis of Vaala, where magic is life, change, progress. The Null is stagnation, death, nothingness, that stands beyond reality in the incomprehensible void. A group of Dragonbonded were seduced by the Null's lure. They believed its power and that of raw Vaala could be harnessed. They were mistaken. The group gathered and performed a ritual to seize its power. Instead, it tore the fabric of reality, and through the rift the Null gained purchase. Immediately it spread its influence like miasma, killing thousands and transforming many more into twisted abominations of natural law. The Null War erupted across Valerna, consuming its nations in battle, not only against creatures of the void, but also against the group responsible for shattering the Null's fetters. Many Dragonbonded fell as hubris drove them to slay another. Individually, no Dragonbonded could contain the Null, but a coordinated effort might repair the rift and banish the creatures. Through great sacrifice, rituals were performed around 3 mystical seals that healed reality, bound the void entities ravaging Valerna, and imprisoned them in oblivion. When the dust settled, precious few Dragonbonded remained, but their leadership would vault Valerna into an era of stable prosperity. And it's now that we reach the current day of Valerna. Factions the likes of Ysfall, Nahuak, and Ilaria have emerged and carved out sections of the continent from which to rule. Dragonbonded lead great kingdoms looking beyond their borders with watchful eyes. Although sovereign lines have been drawn, they can effortlessly be redrawn by those with ambition. The Dragonbonded muster their nation's troops and probe at rivals' weaknesses. All of Valerna stands a tinderbox, waiting for the slightest spark to burst into flames. Who will emerge victorious when the latest war in Rhaava's history burns out? That's for you to decide, Dragonbonded. Thanks so much for watching part 2 in our series exploring the lore of DragonBond. If you're interested in the lore of Valerna, in DragonBond, or any other Draco Studios IPs, check out their website at dracostudios.com. Again, the Kickstarter for DragonBond Endless Sagas tabletop RPG launches October 31st. Check out the link below for more details. Let me know your thoughts on the history of Rhaava, as well as suggestions for future videos in the comments. If you're a fan of lore and storytelling, consider subscribing to the channel or checking out the podcast, where lore content is uploaded frequently. A huge shout out to my patrons whose support makes all of this possible and is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a lore luminary for access to scripts, early video drops, and more, check out patreon.com/thelorebrarians. Until next time, go forth and explore the lore.